So the decision making involves living entities, which is us. So you, me, right? There are people who are influenced by your decision. There are people you're negotiating with. There are people uh, for whom you're making certain decisions. So living entities, right? That's one aspect. Then there's material nature, prakriti. Prakriti means there is, things that we see around us. So, for example, you might need to buy a car or a phone. You might need to buy a land. You might need to make a decision about marriage, right? You might need to deal with health. All of these fall under prakriti. Everything you can see, feel, touch around you. That's prakriti, material nature, right? Time. uh, there are certain decisions that are time sensitive, and after a certain time, no point making a decision because it's already gone, right? So I'll talk about time, place, and circumstance and how that's important in the decision making process. There's activity. So unless you take action, your decisions have no value. You can just analysis paralysis, right? You keep analyzing and getting paralyzed by the analysis, and you don't take any action. And that kind of decision generally is hurtful. So you have to take action. And of course, last but the most important is the supreme controller, Ishvara or Krishna, right? That means in spite of everything you do, man proposes, God disposes. So the ultimate control is in the hands of the ultimate controller, Krishna. So you can do your 100%, but not get attached to your outcome, because you know the outcome has many other variables that are not in your control. And if you're aware that you cannot control them, so there is a factor, what people call the luck, some people call karma, or some people call it's the Krishna factor, right? So these are the basic premise on which an individual is making decisions, right? So these are the things that are influenced. Now, a very simple aspect of decision making is ask and you shall receive, right? You get help only when you ask for it. A lot of times, because of our ego, because of we think we know, or we are too shy to ask, we don't ask for help. We struggle on our own, try and hope, really hope it works, right? And eventually it doesn't, and it blows up far more. And when a 5-minute phone call could have saved you a lot of time. So I have been mentoring a lot of people for spirituality, for business, for life in general. Sometimes people call me in the middle of the night, right? And they're about to make a terrible decision. Like, I'm looking down, sir, I want to end my life. My girlfriend left me. What do I do? I'm like, oh my God, I'm not qualified to help you in this situation. What do I say? What do I do? But then, you are the only person there. What do you do? But they have at least called you for help. And at least a few times I have received such dangerous phone calls, the lives have been saved, and those people are living a very fruitful and happy life by Krishna's mercy. But of course, I'm not qualified as a counselor or a psychologist or anything. I am qualified in some way or form to speak about the spiritual aspect of things, the Bhagavad Gita aspect of things, and that's what I do. But the point is, unless we ask for help, we don't get it. Now, in the Bhagavad Gita, if we look at it, this is a book of questions and answers. If you look at Srimad Bhagavatam, it's a book of questions and answers. Here, Arjuna is asking, Krishna is answering. Arjuna could have just run away from the battlefield. He said, no, Krishna, I want to run away, but I don't know what is best for me. So please tell me, what should I do? In Parikshit Maharaj's case, he was told he's going to die in 7 days. And he immediately left his kingdom. He told his wife and children, okay, you guys take over from here. I have 7 days to live. Let me find out the truth about life. He goes to the banks of a river and asks a pure, elevated soul that please tell me. He asks questions, and Shukadev Goswami answers. And 18,000 verses, we have the Srimad Bhagavatam, right? So if you look at all our scriptures, our Puranas, it's a lot of questions and answers, because that is the first principle of decision making. When you're in a difficult situation, your mind is already over jammed, right? You're not in a position to think clearly or see clearly. So asking questions to yourself, asking questions to a trusted friend, to a trusted mentor is always recommended. In fact, in our scriptures, it is suggested to ask a guru, a sadhu, or scriptures, shastras. right? Now, this is very important. Now, not all of us have access to a guru, right? A guru could be a very formal personality, but also there are gurus who are shiksha guru or vartana pradarshak guru, which means somebody showing you the direction, somebody who teaches you the scriptures, somebody who's connecting you with the parampara of teachers, right? So there are levels of gurus. Mother is a guru, right? Mother teaches you how to brush your teeth, how to you know basic things in life we learn from our parents, right? Mother and father teaches us how to walk, how to talk, how to do things. So they are gurus. But in spirituality, there's obviously the formalized version of guru, which I'm not getting today. But the point is, there are people that we have in our lives, mentors, gurus, etc. Then there are sadhus, which are exemplary personalities. Now, in today's world, we make decisions based on, okay, Amitabh Bachchan did that. He went to that restaurant, so it must be good. I should go there too. Or some influencer bought this laptop. I should buy this laptop too. Or Steve Jobs used to read that book, so I should read it too. So we do the same thing. It's just those people, their character and their achievement might not match up, right? So they might be high achievers in the material terms, but in terms of their character, they might not be so-called sadhu. But if we look at our scriptures, we can definitely look at Hanuman. We can look at Yudhishthir Maharaj. We can look at Prahlad Maharaj. We can look at Prithu Maharaj. We can look at Bali Maharaj. Such great leaders, such great kings. And they are embodiments of character, embodiments of dharmic principles who had to make very, very tough decisions. And they did it keeping all aspects in mind, right? I'll tell you a nice little story. So the Battle of Kurukshetra is finally over. Let me just stop sharing my screen so you can see me when I tell you the story. Okay, so the Battle of Kurukshetra is finally over, and everybody's, all the Kauravas are mostly dead except for, I think, Duryodhana at the time. He's not yet dead. So Ashwadhama, he comes and he thinks he has killed the Pandavas, but he actually killed the sons of the Pandavas, right? So it was very devastating for Draupadi. Krishna immediately told Arjun, bring that Ashwadhama here. You can kill him. Although he is son of a Brahmana, you can kill him because he has not acted like a Brahmana. And Ashwadhama was somehow caught. He was brought in, and all the Pandavas were there. Draupadi was crying. Krishna personally was present. And Krishna told Arjun, free reign. If you want to kill him, there will be no sin of killing a Brahmana. Bhima is like, kill him, brother. Draupadi is like, don't kill him, because I have lost my children. I know how it hurts. I don't want his mother to feel the same pain that I am feeling right now. Please don't kill him. And Arjuna is thinking, decision making, right? He's thinking, what do I do? God is saying, by now he knows Krishna is God, right? So he says, God is saying it's okay to kill. My brother is saying I should kill. My wife is saying I shouldn't kill. So what does he do? He plucks out the money that is on the forehead of Ashwadhama. Ashwadhama had this special money and he was very proud of it. And that was something that he used to flaunt a lot. That was his pride. So it is said that for a person, you take away their prized possession, it's almost as good as death. So he plucked out that money and just let him go. It's like live, the life of a dog, pretty much. That you live a life of disgust. If by killing you, it will be an easy death for you. So I'd rather not kill you. And it is said that apparently Ashwadhama is still alive. He's still seen in various places where his places of pastime. So the point is, in that case, Arjun made a very tough decision where he didn't kill him, but at the same time gave him the punishment that was deserved. And a Kshatriya king is supposed to give rewards and punishments to set an example so others don't do such miscreant activities. So the point is, it's a nice example where Arjun hears the advice of everyone, but makes his own decision. So when I say Guru Sadhu Shastra, right, that there is a teacher, a mentor, there are examples in scriptures, right, whose lives might connect with you. You might be like, you know what, in this situation, this person did this, so maybe this is what I should do. And then there are the actual instructions of Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. And then synthesizing all of that, you have to make that choice because it's your life. You can't blame someone that, oh, you saved me, that's why. So a proper mentor or a guru doesn't give you a solution. They guide you to a solution. So you can see what you need to see, right? So that it's your decision. It's not the mentor's decision or the guru's decision, right? It's your decision. But all the help, all the knowledge, all the direction is provided so you can make your choice. That is something that I learned very early on when I started extending myself as a mentor to students of Bhagavad Gita. So a mentor shows you where to look. You decide what you choose to see. Now, I could just end the session right here and be like, you know what, that is your answer. This is how you make a decision. And if it was so simple, then we wouldn't uh, uh, have any problems in life. But that's not the case. The issue is, although by asking a mentor. So, for example, in my business, I have board of advisors, right? There's always somebody for marketing, somebody for manufacturing, somebody for technology, somebody for operations. So I consult with them. If I'm making an investment decision, I consult with somebody who is from that industry, and 5 minutes can save me crores worth of money, right? The point is, it's important that you take guidance. So in this case, there are spiritual guides, but in business or corporate life, we need to have somebody who can guide us in that situation. And there's nothing better if the spiritual person can also have the corporate knowledge that can help you in that direction, which is why I have a lot of entrepreneur devotees who are with me, because I'm an entrepreneur as well as somewhat of a devotee, so that I can guide in both ways, right? So that's very fortunate. But point is, regardless, we need help. We need guidance from somebody who knows. So our mantra is, I don't know, I want to know. That should always be a humble mantra that we should have, that I don't know, I want to know. And that way we can find the answers from somebody, which helps us in our decision making. Just like we look at Amazon reviews before buying a product. So similarly, we need to make sure we have guidance in life, right? But unfortunately, the situation is this. Something that God has said, that's not very popular, versus what you would rather hear. That's where people go. So that's why we have all these fake gurus and fake babas and all of these people who are talking all kinds of things that are not in the scriptures, that are not in Bhagavad Gita. And because they sound nice, people go to them and pay a lot of money and dedicate their lives and end up not getting the same reality that Arjuna received. So it is very important that we receive the knowledge as it is, coming from an unbroken chain of Guru Shishya Parampara. So in my case, I'm fortunate to be in a line of chain that is coming all the way from Lord Brahma, Narad Muni, Vyasadev, who compiled the Vedas, right? All the way coming from Madhvacharya to Srila Prabhupada to us, right? So it's an unbroken chain. So it's a bona fide, accredited Vaishnava chain through which the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and all these holy scriptures, they're coming through. So you know that this is as it is and not somebody's speculation or interpretation or whatever it might be, somebody's imagination. So what I'm going to speak today is what God has said, not what you would rather hear. So if you don't agree with that, that's totally okay. But the point is, you're going to hear what Krishna is saying. I'm not going to tell you anything that sounds maybe popular. I'm going to say what is true. And I hope that's okay with all of you. So first, we'll deal with the duality dilemma, right? That means duality. Duality means two. There's always two things, black and white, hot and cold, happiness, distress, right? There's a duality. Should I do this? Should I not do this? Should I marry this person? Should I not marry this person? Should I invest here? Should I not invest here? Should I start a startup? Should I not start a startup? Right? There's always a duality dilemma. And what does Krishna say in the Bhagavad Gita? In chapter 2, text 14, Krishna is saying, O son of Kunti, Kaunteya, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course are like appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, O scion of Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. In simple words, this is what it means, that there is happiness, distress, summer, winter, day, night. Constantly there is change. In life, there is always going to be change. But don't be bothered by it. Krishna is saying that non-permanent appearance and disappearance of happiness and distress, right? So this is always going to happen. So they arise from sense perception. So our senses, we have five senses, right? Pancha Indriya, sense perception, touch, feel, taste, etc. From that, I love this cake, or the chef forgot to put sugar in the cake. I thought this cake would be nice, but there's no sweetness to it. It's horrible. The same cake can bring us distress. Oh God, I was hoping this cake would be so good, but it is so disgusting, right? So sense perception, what we hear, what we see, what we touch, from that we feel happy, distress, right? Stress, anxiousness, all of that is coming from sense perception. Krishna is saying, one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed, because it is the design. This is how it is designed. I'm sorry, how did this happen? Just give me a second. There we go. Okay. So the sense perception makes us believe there's happiness, distress, and there are situations happening. So Krishna is saying, I have designed in such a way that there is always going to be changes, and you have to rise above it, learn to tolerate it, and focus on what is permanent. So what is permanent is our relationship with Krishna. What is non-permanent is what is happening around us. Right now it's nighttime, it's going to be day tomorrow. Right now it's winter, in a few months it's going to be summer. Right now there is pandemic, after a few months, hopefully this will not exist, right? Hopefully. But there will be something else. There will be something else, and there will be something else. Throughout our lifetimes, we'll probably see multiple wars, pandemics, and happy things, rising economy, rising stock prices, crashing economy, crashing stock prices, all kinds of things. These are how it's designed to be. Now, if you understand this, then you know that this is what it is. And then decision making becomes easy. For example, for those of you invest in stock markets, anybody invest in stock markets? Can you say yes or no? Yes. Okay. Some of you do. Okay, good. So that there are always there's a cycle of 3 years that there are rises, and there's a trader right here. There's rise in stock price, there's crash, right? So if you're a long-term investor, that there will be times when you can buy when this will crash. So it's cyclical. So similarly, in economies also, when I started my first startup, it was 2009. There was a recession. And everybody was like, nobody's going to invest. I saw an opportunity. I was like, you know what? For my startup, I'll get more visibility because everybody thinks nobody will invest. Investors are there and they're not getting hounded like other times. So I will go ahead with my startup. And I raised money during a recession when everybody else was, getting jobs and quitting their startup dreams. So the point is, you see your decision-making opportunity based on this understanding that this is cyclical. There are cycles. There's going to be good times. There's going to be bad times. There's going to be stock market going up, stock market going down. There's going to be health going up, health going down. There's going to be pandemic. There's going to be fear. There's going to be greed. All of this is part of the design. If you understand this, you can use it to your advantage and grow. If you don't understand this, you can get scared and totally get anxious and crumble like everybody else. 99% of the people watch the news, get scared, and the news channels make a lot of money. TRP ratings go up because everybody's scared. They're watching news to understand, and there is sensationalization of everything, and that's how the world is being brainwashed. But when we see the world through the eyes of Bhagavad Gita, we know that this is only expected, and this is the nature of life, right? This is how God has designed everything. Okay, we'll go back to sharing the screen. So when you're stressed, you cannot trust what your mind is telling you. It's the worst decisions you will make when you're stressed out, right? And you'll regret it later on. So it's important you don't text, you don't email, you don't do phone calls, you don't talk to somebody important when you're stressed out, because you might lash out, you might show frustration, you might say or do things you might regret later on. I have done that many times, speaking from experience. And some of those mistakes cannot be undone. And the biology of that is the cognitive brain, the frontal part of the brain, and some of us are doctors here, right, goes to sleep, right? When you're stressed out, it doesn't function very properly. Just like a computer, when there's too many things, too many browsers open, too many things, too many softwares going up, the computer freezes. You see the blue screen of death if you have a Windows computer, or even in Mac, you see that wheel going. So the computer is like, you know what, enough is enough. I'm not functioning. Same thing happens with our brain. When there's too much anxiety, too much stress, we cannot think. And that's when if we make decisions, we make really, really stupid decisions. So Krishna is saying that for him who has conquered the mind is the best of friends. But for whom he has failed to do so, the mind will remain the worst enemy. Worst, greatest enemy, right? So your greatest enemy is sitting right here, or right here, wherever you think the mind is. So understand that it's not outside. Your enemy is not outside. Your enemy is not this person, that person. It's 99% of the times it's your own mind. But if you can control it, it becomes your best friend. Think about this horse. Of course, everybody probably knows this analogy very well. You know, when this horse was a baby horse, it was starved and it was tied to a chair. And this baby horse tried to run away, and it could not. A chair, it was tied to a stump, right? And when it tried to run away, it couldn't run away. It tried and tried and tried and gave up. And then it decided that whenever it's tied to something, it cannot run away. That's how the mind kind of got conditioned. And this baby horse grew up to this massive horse, which is tied to a plastic chair that anybody can move. But the horse thinks, oh, I am tied to it, so I cannot move. And that happens to us all the time. That's what the mind does. Worst enemy, right? Almost always the chain that prevents us from being free is our own mind. And Krishna is saying that if you control this enemy, this mind, then it can become your greatest friend. It can free you. But we are unfortunately controlled by it. Now, understand this. What's happening is you're driven by fear. In material life, everything is about fear. Bosses can control you by saying, oh, if you don't work hard, I will not give you that promotion. If you don't work hard, you will not get that bonus. Or parents are telling the kids, oh, if you don't do this, you won't get that chocolate. Or if you don't eat, I won't let you watch TV, right? So everybody's trying to use fear as a tactic to control us, right? And that's where we get used to it. And fear, from childhood, we are brainwashed into fear mindset. And as a result, we look at life with anxiety. Now, those who are in a devotional environment, those who are spiritually conscious or enlightened, they're not driven by fear because they feel the presence of God on their hand. And that is a shelter. So, for example, if you are working with the Prime Minister's office, or you are in a higher up power, a politician or whatever, you will have less fear than a common man. Of course, you have the fear of not getting elected again. You'll have other kinds of fears. But the point is you have less fear than a common man because you have some access to power and strength. So similarly, when you're connected to the most powerful person in this entire creation, Krishna, it gives you that strength where people cannot manipulate you, blackmail you, control you using fear. And somebody said fear and greed. Yeah, sure. Fear and greed, lust, greed, envy, pride, fear, all of these things are used to control us, but fear predominantly versus love. So in the material world, everything is governed by fear. You don't to pay the taxes, you pay penalty, or you could go to jail, right? In the material world, is driven by love, right? I don't drink, smoke, etc., because I love Krishna, right? Because I want to live a pure life. I want to live a life that is for the service of humanity. So I am more in control. Why don't I drink? Because drinking takes away my control. I cannot drive a car. I cannot even walk properly. I cannot speak properly. That's why it's called under the influence of alcohol, right? So alcohol is influencing me. I'd rather Bhagavad Gita influence me. So I don't drink. I don't intoxicate, right? And many people who are following Dharma, they don't indulge in anything that can take control over your life. But do you have control over your life, right? So it's important to understand, to right size your fear, that the worst won't happen, the best probably might not happen, but there is something in the middle. And you breathe in, you breathe out. When you're making a decision, you first center yourself, you clean up the dust that is there. If you're trying to drive in a foggy weather, right? I was one time driving from Delhi to Mathura, Vrindavan. And in Delhi, this time of the year, it's crazy foggy, and especially that highway. I think it's called, I forget the name of the highway, Mathura Highway, I think. Anyway, it's really foggy. And in front of me, I saw a bike crashed into a truck. Another car crashed into another car. And we were driving at like 30 kilometers per hour. And everybody is going slow. And still people are crashing into each other because of the fog. So same thing happens when you are under high pressure, you're under trauma, you're under stress, anxiety. Oh my God, am I going to lose my job? Oh my God, am I going to lose my near and dear one? Oh my God, am I going to be able to pay my employees, etc., right? So everybody has different kind of stress. What happens? And you try to make a decision, you screw up because you're not thinking straight. So one very simple thing is, right? You do a little pranayama, you're breathing in, breathing out. That means you're centering, you're balancing your prana, your life energy. And then you'll see there's a little bit more clarity. You're a little calm. And now you can think with clarity. I wear glasses. Those of you who wear glasses know this. Without the glasses, it's very blurry vision. With the glasses, you have clear vision. And without your glasses, you might fumble and fall when you're walking around. If you have high vision, high power like me, I have like -6, so it's pretty high power. So without my glasses, I can fumble and fall. With glasses, I have clarity. So similarly, when making decisions, we need to have clarity, and we need to wait for that clarity. We cannot expect ourselves, our own self, to make a decision when we are under stress. We shouldn't do that. It's important we know when to say, okay, pause. Take a break, center yourself, breathe in, breathe out, do some meditation, and then decide. In certain cases, when you have time, take a few days to decide, right? For example, if you're making life-changing decisions like marriage, like starting a business, or buying a car, buying a house, or shifting to another location, take a few days, take a week if needed. Breaking up with someone, take a little time, right? And then decide, get clarity. Talk to people you trust, talk to people who have knowledge, talk to people who have gone through the same situation, and definitely talk to people who have spiritual clarity, who can give you a spiritual vision. Because one way of looking at it is at this level, but spiritual vision gives you a clearer, more wholesome, long-term picture, right? And we'll go deeper into that topic of what does it mean to have long-term vision. So mind control and meditation, we'll talk a little bit about this now, because it's not easy to have that clarity. It's not easy to tell yourself to stop. It's not easy to pause, breathe in, breathe out. It's easy for me to tell you that. But when you're under pressure, you lash out. When somebody says you suck, you say you suck too, right? And that is what makes us humans. But what can make us superhumans is when we have control over what we say, what we do. And I am personally working on myself, right? I'm not a perfected being by any stretch of the imagination. But over the last 10, 15 years, it has helped me. Meditation has helped me do that. And if you see on your screen, the joystick or the car steering or the leash on the dog, these are all depicting one word that you see on the screen. And I want you to type in the chat section, which word on your screen does these 3 pictures depict? Control, control, control. That's right. You guys are brilliant. You guys are brilliant. Yes. Controlled by someone else. Yes. So without control, now think about this for a second. If your video game didn't have those joysticks, then Super Mario would just go running and fall into somebody's mouth and die, right? If your dog didn't have a leash, dog would run here and there and just run away. No control. If you didn't have a steering wheel on your car and you're driving, guess what? Your car would eventually crash into something because you don't know how to control the car. So control, mind control is important, because without that steering wheel in your life, how are you supposed to drive your life? And that's what happens with all of us, most of us, is that we have no control over our lives. Life takes us in a direction. Parents say, go for engineering. We study engineering. Then parents say, go MBA. We go MBA. Then we see some successful people, some motivational speakers talking this, and we say, okay, let's try this. Okay, let's do that. Let's invest here. Let's do. So constantly we are just following blindly what others are doing without having control over our life. Mind says, I want this, and we run in that direction. Mind says, no, 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 not sure I want this anymore. I want that. Okay, we run in that direction. So same with, one of the biggest things is in marriages, promiscuity. We cheat on our spouses sometimes. Why? Because the mind says so. I'm so sick and tired of this one person in my life. I want something else. I want a new model, right? Just like cars or phones. When we objectify human beings, that's what happens. Okay, I have lived this with this person for so long. Let me try somebody young and somebody more beautiful, somebody more rich, somebody more established, more exciting, etc. Right? And that's the mind. And we don't think about the consequence, or we think, and we're like, it's okay. It's not going to be. Nobody's going to find out, right? And of course, we know every time what happens, right? So it is important that as we have control over our car, control over our dog, control over our, whatever things in life, we need to have control over our own mind. So that's how you hit the pause button. When you are supposed to not make decisions, you're supposed to hit the pause button and say, you know what, this is not the right time. Somebody calls you and say, hey, not the right time to talk right now. I'm not in the best mood. Is it okay if I talk to you later? Right? I'll call you in half an hour, right? Or somebody emails you, you know what? I will not respond right now. Somebody WhatsApp you. No, not right now. If somebody wants to negotiate with you, no, not in the right mindset. I just had a fight. So this control is very important, and that is mind control. So in the Katha Upanishad, it is very beautifully explained, just like I gave you the steering wheel example or the joystick example. Here, you see a charioteer is controlling the horses. There are 5 horses. There are the 5 senses. You see the horses have some necklaces. So eye, nose, ears, touch, taste, etc. Right? So 5 horses. So these are the 5 senses. The ropes, the reins of the horses, that's the mind. And if the mind is not properly controlled, the horses will go in different directions. So intelligence needs to be strong to control the mind. Otherwise, the soul will be like, oh my God, the chariot is about to tip over, right? The chariot is the body. The wheels, day and night, 24 hours, right? Day, night. You're moving towards death. So beautiful example by Katha Upanishad, which is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita also, referred in the Bhagavad Gita, but it is from Katha Upanishad. So it's important to understand the difference between intelligence and mind. Mind is like, hey, how about jumping from this high-rise building? Intelligence says, you know what? It hurt when you fell from bed. If you jump from this building, it might kill you. Do not jump. So intelligence is a discerning factor that looks back at past experience. It looks at knowledge that you have gathered from books, from other people's experience, and helps you decide if you should do it or not. So your decision making is governed by how good your intelligence is. That means how strong your intelligence is, backed by the proper knowledge. If you have the wrong knowledge, then you will have the wrong intelligence and you will make the wrong decisions. So for example, if your knowledge is coming from movies, let's say, and you see Money Heist, and you're like, okay, these guys got away with it. They made a lot of money. Maybe I should do it too, right? Or you see something else, right? And that's your knowledge. And then so it happens, right? So what movie recently somebody killed their parents because they watched some movie? I forget, but this kid, he went and killed his parents, and when he was caught, he said he saw something on Netflix, and that movie influenced him to kill his parents and take the money and whatnot. very, very stupid. That person's intelligence was very low because they're getting the knowledge from movies. So please don't get knowledge from movies. Don't learn Mahabharat and Bhagavatam from TV and movies, right? Learn from the actual book, learn from scriptures. So intelligence is what helps you make that decision. Mind is what just desires. Mind is the reservoir of desires. And intelligence is what decides if that desire is worth fulfilling or not. Now, what are you feeding your intelligence with? What kind of knowledge? It depends what kind of books you're reading, what kind of magazines, what kind of news channels, what kind of social media, all of that, right? And what is being fed into your mind is how you're going to decide. So it's very, very important that you carefully expose yourself to the right kind of knowledge. Read the right kind of books. I'm not saying just read Bhagavad Gita. That's not what I'm saying, right? Of course, you will need business books, but when you read a business book, I'm sure most of you would do some research on the author and see if this person has done something meaningful in their life. If he's telling me about, let's say, yoga, is he a good yogi? If this person talking about business, has he been a successful business person? If this person is talking about, let's say, mental health, does this person have a good lifestyle, a healthy relationship with his spouse, with his children? This is how you should judge the author before you read a book, not just read the book by its cover, but read the book based on the author's personal characteristics. Go on YouTube. So it's important you get the right kind of knowledge from the right kind of source, and that's how you make the right kind of decisions, right? I'll tell you, this has helped me tremendously. I was one time going to China and for a manufacturing process, and I was only a teenager, and I was referred by Texas Instruments, somebody from Texas Instruments, to this massive manufacturing facility in China. So they sent a Mercedes limo to the airport to pick us up, and when I went to the factory in Shenzhen, the CEO personally came to greet me, and there were 40,000 employees and all of that, and big screen TV. It says like, welcome Avelo Roy, CEO, Emotion Grouping. And the CEO is like, where is Mr. Roy? I'm like, I am Avelo Roy. And he's like, oh, you're a teenager. I'm like, yeah. He's like, I thought you'd be somebody much older. And that was his impression. He was kind of like, how is a 19-year-old talking to me? He got referred by Texas Instruments, which is a big company. But then the kind of questions I was asking him, he was kind of surprised. It's like, how do you know to ask these questions even? And it was like, I had spoken to somebody before who had been doing business with China for 40 years. And he had told me, Avelo, these are the things you should look for. These are the questions you should ask. These are the criteria you should analyze before deciding if you should go with them. When you sign a contract, these are the clauses you should look at. So I had a mentor who already told me, gave me the right knowledge, what to look for. So when I went there, they had respect for me because of the questions I was asking. Initially, they saw me because of my age, but eventually they saw me for the questions I was asking because they knew that I knew. And I am not just a guy who has come without a clue. I am a guy who is well educated, well knowledgeable about where I could be cheated, where I could go wrong, and I was asking the right question. So the important part is that's what helps you in decision making, is when you have a 5-minute call with a mentor, when you read the right books, when you get your knowledge from the right sources. And what is better than Krishna himself, the Bhagavad Gita, right? That's one of the venture capitalists who invested in one of my companies one time told me, I asked him, you're a billionaire. He's literally a billionaire. And a billionaire means in Indian rupees, it's 7,000 crores is 1 billion, right? So I asked him, you're a billionaire. And he's Indian, of course. It's like, how did you, what are some of the books that has morphed you? And he said, well, it's the Bhagavad Gita. I haven't read any other books. It's the Bhagavad Gita. It has everything. Every time I read it, there is so much to it, right? That I get all my questions answered from one book. But of course, for different people, the need is different. For him, he's really into the Gita. And for him, it's worked out. For me, I read the Gita, I read other books also, and to enrich my knowledge as I do things and find out better ways of doing things. So your source of knowledge is very, very important, because that is feeding, that is fueling your intelligence, and the intelligence is controlling the mind, and the mind is controlling the senses, and that is when you are free to make your own decision. Otherwise, what happens is, you want to decide, I want to go in this direction, and the mind says, I want to go in that direction. The senses are saying, I want to go in that direction, and instead of going in this direction, you follow the mind. Then when the intelligence is inferior to the mind takes control and goes wherever it wants to go. So you, instead of going forward, you go sideways, get distracted, right? You're not moving, you're not progressing, you're going sideways. You want to go forward, you focus on getting freed from the influence of mind and senses, and that is mind control. The ability to say no to the mind. Mind says, I want to have ice cream in the middle of the winter, and your intelligence says, hey, this is not the right time because you might get a cold, might as well not do it, right? The mind might say, hey, right before a deadline, I want to watch a movie. Intelligence is like, now is not the time, let me finish the work, after the deadline maybe, right? So this ability to say no, to have control, to accelerate, to decelerate, all of that, the joystick or the steering wheel of your life, that is what your intelligence is. So the right knowledge feeds the intelligence the right way, so you can make the right decision and move forward beyond the influence of your mind and senses. Is it clear so far? Does anybody have any questions? Let me see. Okay, no questions in the Q&A box. If you have questions, do ask in the Q&A box, and I will pause once in a while and stop for you and answer some questions. Okay, good. Everybody's saying it's clear. Fantastic. Okay. So now we come to mantra, the role of mantra that plays in the mind control process. The word mantra in Sanskrit is broken into two parts, manaha, tra. So man as in the mind, tra, trayate, manaha trayate iti mantra. Mind release or free your mind. So that's what mantra does. So we take a bath every day. We clean our face every day, hopefully. We brush our teeth every day, hopefully. Right? A lot of students don't do that, but most people do. So similarly, the mind also needs a shower. Cheto darpana marjanam. Cheto, chetana, the consciousness of the mind. Darpana, the mirror of the consciousness of the mind, needs cleaning. Marjanam. Marjanam as in like brushing your teeth. Cleaning, marjanam. So mantra allows you to cleanse your mind of anxiety, stress, lust, greed, envy, pride, illusion, all of that. It's a cleansing process. So, like you see in this picture, right? It's cleaning the mind. That's what mantra does. Because the soul sees the world through various filters. I am rich, I'm a man, I'm wise, and accordingly you take action and reaction. And sometimes you think I am, I'm following my scriptures, and my scriptures say I should kill people. Sometimes that's how the interpretation is. And accordingly, one goes and does terrible things, hurts other people's lives, right? So depending on how you see the world, depending on your worldview, you take action, right? Your karma, that's what happens based on your understanding of who you are. So we need to clean up our understanding of who we are. And that's what mantra does. Mantra, meditation, and philosophy hand in hand. So the knowledge comes in that gives you why you're doing what you're doing, how the world is designed, how you should make your decision, what are the principles involved to make your decision. And mantra is the part that strengthens your mind, that cleans your mind from all the anxiety, stress, depression, and all of those things. Just like when it rains, you see there is like smoky, foggy, all kinds of things. But when it rains, it all becomes clear. The rain cleans the air, and everything falls down. Even if you look at a river, especially Ganga, I'm in Calcutta, and most of you who are from Calcutta or any other river must have seen the rivers are very polluted today. But when you see it rains, all the pollution goes down with the rain. Even the river becomes clearer because of the rain. So similarly, the mantra has a role to play to clean the mind, and the philosophy helps you see things clearly. So you don't think I'm a man, woman, rich, poor, wise, ugly, beautiful, and all of that. You understand I'm a spirit soul. I'm a Satchit Ananda Vigraha. I'm a soul part of God. And you can act as a spiritual being and make decisions as an eternal spiritual being. And if you don't understand that, we will get more into it a little later. So from Srimad Bhagavatam, I want to share this with you. It says, Kritya Dhayato Vishnu, that in Satya Yuga, Kritya Yuga, Satya Yuga, the perfection of that yuga, when people live for a very, very, very long time, it was through meditation on Vishnu for thousands of years, right? Then came Treta Yuga, Tretayam Yajato Makhaye. So in Treta Yuga, it was fire sacrifice, yagya, right? Yagya, fire sacrifice. So a lot of ghee, a lot of Ashwamedh yagya, Gomedh yagya, and things like that. Dwapara Paricharam. So in Dwapar Yuga, it was temple worship. So all these wonderful temples that we have in South India, North India, and other places, these were built during that period because that was the Yuga Dharma at the time. And Kalautad Hari Kirtanat. So in Kali Yuga, Hari Kirtan, or name of Hari, name of Krishna. So in South India, there's Vishnu Sahasranam, right? In the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, in Madhva Sampradaya, there's Hare Krishna mantra. In our Sampradaya, is Hare Krishna mantra. In other Sampradayas, there are other mantras of the name of Krishna, Govinda, etc. So chanting of the Lord's holy name is the prescribed Yuga Dharma of Kali Yuga. Because we don't have time. We don't have time for thousands of years of meditation. We don't live that long. We don't have the money to have massive fire sacrifices. We are not in a position to build massive temples in Kali Yuga. That's not what we do. In Kali Yuga, primarily, we don't build massive temples. We cannot afford to. And there's so many houses. We don't have space also for that. So the most practical thing and the easiest thing that is given to us is chanting of the holy name of Lord Hari. Right? And specifically, the 16-syllabled mantra is mentioned in multiple scriptures, Padma Puran, Srimad Bhagavatam, Kali Santarna Upanishad, and many, many scriptures point to this Maha Mantra, right? The Kali Santarna Upanishad says that the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. After searching through all the Vedic literature, one cannot find a method of religion more sublime for this age than the chanting of Hare Krishna. Is the easiest. You can do it anywhere. There are no rules. You can wake up and do it. You can do it at night. You can do it during the day. You can do it. Of course, it's good to do in the morning after you take a shower and all that. But point is, there are no rules. You can chant while going to work. You can chant whenever, wherever you are. So the point is, this is the most powerful mantra, Maha Mantra, as it's called, is given in our scriptures for Kali Yuga specifically so that quickly, the 50 to 70 to 80 years, whatever we live, whatever our lifespan is, that quickly we can achieve the same results as Kritya Dhayato Vishnu, like thousands of years of dhyan or temple worship or all of that. Very simply by chanting the mantra, wherever we are, we can get the same results and benefits and be able to focus our mind, make the right decisions, and have no regrets when we are on our deathbed. So only when we have that kind of clarity, we have mind control, then we can think clearly. When we can think clearly, then we can prioritize our decision-making process. And the prioritization is, again, the duality dilemma, remember? So we need to prioritize what is urgent versus what is important. Long-term gain versus short-term gain. Ethical versus unethical. Winning an argument versus breaking a heart, right? A lot of situations. So let's go one by one. So urgent versus important. So I hope this kind of clarifies. So a lot of times things are urgent, like the phone is ringing. You feel the urgency to pick up the phone, but maybe you're feeding your baby. Maybe you are doing meditation and this is not the time for phone. So you turn it off. That, you know what, it's urgent, but it's not important. Right? Sometimes it's urgent and important. The house is on fire. Yes, run away. Earthquake is happening. Run away, right? So if it is urgent and important, definitely, you have to just do it. If it is not urgent and not important, please don't waste time. doing it. It can be on TikTok or Reels or whatever else, right? We have various ways of wasting time or spacing out and just wondering, nothing, thinking of nothing. So life is short. You never know when it was going to end. It doesn't come with the email notification. So might as well not focus on what is low important and low on urgency. If it is low on importance but high on urgency, then give it to somebody else, delegate, outsource, automate, right? Things that you can, for example, I don't know, this in business, this makes more sense where you can automate things. You can just be like, okay, certain things certain people can do. I don't have to do everything. When you start a business, you're doing everything, but eventually you have employees and you delegate things, right? Or sometimes your children, you delegate things to the children. So like that, you need to understand what is urgent, what is important, and based on that, sometimes some things are low in urgency but extremely important. For example, meditation, right? You might think it's not urgent. I have so many other important things to do. A meditation can wait. Today I'll skip. Tomorrow I'll do it. Or exercise, it can wait. Today I'll skip. Tomorrow I'll do. Make time for it. It might not feel urgent, but trust me, if it is important, you better do it, or else you'll have regrets for it later on, right? Pay taxes. Today it might not seem urgent, but tomorrow they're going to have a penalty on you if you delay too much. So might as well make time for it and do it. So that's how you decide on urgency versus importance, long-term versus short-term, right? A lot of times things like, again, stock market or investing in things, like 10 years or 5 years, you're going to invest and you're going to get the return on investment, or your college degree, right? You invest and you get return on investment. So some things are long-term and you make short-term sacrifices for them. And sometimes we don't see the long-term and we want to make the short-term gain for destroying our long-term value on that. So again, when you have mind control, when you have the right knowledge, the right intelligence, then you can think in terms of, what, right now my mind is saying instant sense gratification, but I realize if I do instant sense gratification, I will regret later on. I'd rather not regret later, so might as well make the sacrifice right this moment. So later on, I can reap the benefits of my hard work, right? Most of you are extremely intelligent. I did the Facebook ads by very targeting people who come from their level of intelligence. So I know you understand what it is. If you don't understand, feel free to ask. I'll be happy to answer. So there are some questions here. Let's see. I'll take a little break right now. Raja Tikab is saying, will we be able to revisit after the session also? Absolutely. I'll send you you'll get the recording in your email. Madhukar Bhatt, is instinct to be followed? Instinct to be followed only when that instinct is based on skill. So let's say you're skilled in driving. So eventually you can actually, talk, have a conference, of course, not on the phone, that's illegal, but have a conference in your car speaker and drive. And there is no problem, right? Because you know how to drive. You can drive without thinking. You're such an expert in driving, or you're such an expert in typing. Some things you can do while listening to music, right? So those kinds of things. But instinct, a lot of cases can be wrong because the knowledge you have, where the instinct is coming from, might be a wrong source of knowledge. So not always your instinct is right. But people who have been successful for a long time, they have the instinct coming from a lot of subconscious observations. So yes, in those cases, that's why you take the guidance from such people, because they have the instinct that is ripe, that is perfected through a lot of right decisions, right? But verify the instinct. Whenever you have an instinct, verify it with somebody who's expert in that particular domain. That way you have a double assurance that what you're doing is right. I hope that answers your question, Madhukar. Yashish Kumar Mistry is saying, how can I know that, yes, I am now clear about my decision and it's completely free from any mind's influence? It will never be free from any mind's influence unless you're like the really up there, elevated, enlightened person. It's never going to be. But To the degree you have clarity, to the degree you have less influence of the senses and the mind and more control of your own intelligence, to that degree you will make the right choices. So you will never make 100% right choices. Nobody does. But at the same time, when you make a mistake, don't repeat it. It is another data point that you can tell your intelligence, hey, next time don't make the same mistake. Learn from it. This is another knowledge point, right? So it's okay to make mistakes, but it's not okay to repeat those mistakes. So you'll never be free from it, but you'll always get better and better and better and better. Some wrong mistakes, then you'll make some, smaller mistakes, and then you'll make right decisions, based on those. So don't beat up yourself. And how do you know that it's your intelligence and not your mind? Ask yourself, where is this coming from? That meditation will give you that clarity to see. Right now, it might not be visible to you. But when you have meditation, you can ask yourself honestly, hey, am I doing this from a need perspective, or am I rationalizing it because I have a desire for it? For example, you go to the shopping mall. While you're standing in line, there are a few things that are lined up, right? That's called the impulse buy section, which is a $2 billion market, by the way. You do not plan to buy those things, but because you're standing next to them, you're standing in line, you go pick up some of those things and put it in your shopping cart. They're called impulse buy. Is that your mind, or is that your intelligence? Of course, it's your mind. You didn't come to the shopping mall to buy it, but you're buying it because your mind is saying, it's okay, let's take it. It's only a small amount of money, right? So you will know when you ask yourself honestly, and when you have clarity, when you have vision of your mind through meditation practice. It doesn't happen in one day, right? Today I'm telling you this, I'm introducing you to it. But as you practice it, you get better and better at it. Okay. Venkata Kiran is saying, question again, please. Okay, we go. Chandrima Chattaraj is saying, how does karma play a role in decision making? Karma gives you the tools with which you can, the circumstance that you're in. So for example, if I want to make a decision to fly to Mumbai, let's say today, right? I have to have enough money in my bank account to buy the ticket. I have to have the right time to get to the airport. I have to have certain things to be able to get on a flight and go to Mumbai, right? If I don't have that, somebody who's jobless, let's say, and really struggling, they might not be able to take that decision. So your karma is, what is your circumstance that you're in which you have a finite set of choices. Based on the finite set of choices, you can choose, and accordingly, your next circumstances presented to you. So for example, with this time, all of you chose a Sunday evening to learn the Bhagavad Gita. Many others are choosing this time to get drunk in a bar or a pub, or wasting time in doing something else, right? It's a choice. So your karma has allowed you to be in the situation. Let's say your karma didn't allow you to have the internet connection. You wouldn't be, even after registering all of that, you wouldn't be able to join us today, right? So that's what karma is. It according to your past karmic bank account, you have certain choices. Within those choices, you make a choice, and that defines your destiny, your next destination, your next decision. I hope that helps, Chandrima. Anonymous attendee. Sometimes even if I say in my mind no to something, let's say smoking, mind wants something to do at the particular moment, and I'm not feeling like to read or do something, then that crave for smoking has influenced, even if I know it's not good. What to do in this kind of situation, right? So smoking is addiction. So what has happened is your mind is already used to getting that addiction. Otherwise, it doesn't feel fulfilled. It feels empty without it. So what has to happen is you have to give the mind some other form. So reading won't help you. At that time, if you say, okay, I'm going to read something or do something sattvic, it's not going to help. It might help to say, hey, let me watch a movie. That is very interesting. Or let me do something. You have to replace that with something less harmful. right? Like the nicotine patch some people use, right? So it's a dose of nicotine, but not smoking. So the nicotine kind of calms you down from smoking, and slowly you use less nicotine patches and whatnot, and your smoking habit goes down. Now, the point is, I don't want to spend a lot of time on addiction. It's extreme case, right? So whoever you are, connect with me. I'll be happy to spend one-on-one session with you and help you through that. I've helped many people from all kinds of drug addictions, and by Krishna's mercy, they have not gotten back to it. So I'm happy to help in that direction. But the point is, the mind is addicted to something where it feels without it, it won't get that happiness. And all you got to do is de-link that connection and try another link, replace that with a healthier choice, where the mind will be like, oh, there are alternatives where I can get the same happiness from. And slowly, the mind will get used to it, and you will be able to de-link yourself from that addiction. Now, I know we have PhDs here on decision making and other things, so they can say probably more. Feel free to add in if you want to. But that's my understanding, and it has worked for many of my mentees in US and India. So I'm happy to give you personal time and help you through it if you are up for it. I hope that helps. Amit Nandan says, soul food on daily basis. I'm not sure what you're asking. If you're asking prasadam, yeah, sure, prasadam definitely helps. You offer to Krishna and you eat that. That internally definitely purifies you. But I'm not sure. Soul food could mean a lot of things. What exactly you mean? If you can clarify, I'll be happy to answer. Venkat is saying, why only Krishna? Why not any god? Because by definition, God is Krishna. Now, this is a very controversial topic, and I'd rather not get into this right now. But just to give you a basic understanding of God, in Hinduism, there is a misconception between Devata and Bhagavan. Devata, there are 33 million 33 crore Dev Devta, we say, right? Chandra, Surya, Varuna, Ganesha, Indra, all of these personalities. But there's only one Bhagwan, that is Krishna, or Vishnu Tattva, that is Rama, Narasimha, Narayana, right? The Vishnu Tattva. So Bhagavan is referred to the Vishnu Tattva. So Krishna being the origin of Vishnu Tattva. Whereas the others, the Chandra, Surya, Varuna, all of these personalities, they are positions. So even you can take on that position and become the next Chandra if you want, or the next Surya if you want. There are 33 million of them, and they all have their prescriptions, what you have to do to qualify for that positions. They're not easy. They're great personalities taking those positions, right? We were just reading in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, that Ikshvaku, right, talking about the sun god. Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita 2 million years ago, before the battle of Kurukshetra. And he's talking about that in chapter 4. So sun god right now is somebody. After that, it'll be somebody else, right? So long story short, we should not mix up Devata versus Bhagavan. Bhagavan is God, and the gods you talk about, they are Devata. And this is given in Bhagavad Gita and all our scriptures very clearly. But since we don't read the scriptures, we don't know. So I hope that clarifies. The Gita is spoken by Krishna, first person singular, and he's very clear about that distinction between Devatas and Bhagavan. When Vyasadev presents the Bhagavad Gita, it says Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. He doesn't say Sri Krishna Uvacha, because Krishna can be name of a common person also, right? So he says Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, because this is Krishna, who's Bhagavan, God, who's speaking, first person singular. Again, we can talk a lot about this subject matter, but I'll keep our conversation focused on decision making today. Darshan Vyas, how to control emotional decision. First thing is pause, hit the pause button. Call somebody you trust. Before you make an emotional decision, call somebody you trust. Share with them. As you're sharing, you yourself will realize, what I'm saying doesn't make sense. It's too emotional. It's something I'll regret later on, right? Or the other person, if they're your well-wisher, a mentor or a friend or a parent or whoever it is that you trust, will tell you, this might not be the most rational decision. So it's always good to take help from people that you trust. Ask for help and you should receive it, right? Or I'll give you another mystical tool. If you have the Bhagavad Gita at home, Take the Bhagavad Gita, pray to Krishna, my dear Krishna, I don't know what decision to make. And just open the Bhagavad Gita to a random page. And I promise you, read it. You will get some portion of your answer there, right? Because the book Bhagavad Gita is not just a paper book, it is Krishna in literary form. So if you pray and you open, you might find the right answer, and that might inspire you to make the right decisions. So again, it's mystical. You don't have to believe me, but try it out. You'll be amazed how it works. Okay. Venkat is saying in some research, they said Gayatri Mantra is more powerful. We don't care about what research happens in Oxford or Cambridge or Harvard. We care about what our scriptures say. So scripture says the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra includes Gayatri Mantra. It includes every other mantra that is there in the Hare Krishna mantra. So as you saw, Kali Shantarana Upanishad, which is the Upanishad for Kali Yuga, is saying that the most powerful mantra is the Hare Krishna mantra. So we always value scriptures over what some PhD from some wonderful college is researching, because it's scriptures versus somebody's research, which might or might not be complete. So we always prioritize our understanding from Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, right? Bona fide scriptures. Himanshu Deka, how to find the Swadharma? Is it predestined or have to make? So Swadharma is your internal nature, who you really are, your spiritual nature. So Swadharma comes after a lot of cleansing of your consciousness. Right now, you are in the consciousness that I'm in this body and I am this man, I am rich, poor, ugly, whatever labels you put yourself, that is what you think you are. Swadharma comes after spiritual cleansing. So first it's Adho Shraddha, which is the faith part. You develop faith, you study the scriptures, Sadhu Sangha, you associate with devotees. Bhajana Kriya, you study the scriptures, you do the meditation, you cleanse yourself with the mantras. And then there is Anartha Nivriti, it cleansing of lust, greed, envy, pride, illusion. And then comes, you get a semblance of your Swadharma, who you really are in your spiritual form. Now that is way up there. Today we are at ABC level. I'm not going to go into details on that, but if you come to our Philosophy Friday, I'll be happy to explain it further details. But not right now. This is not something we need to worry about, because we are not in our Swadharma. We are in our bodily consciousness. Sai Charan Sri Ramoji. Sometimes it is very difficult to not to resort to sense gratification, no matter how hard we try. So how to overcome our sense gratifying attitude? Absolutely. And like I said about the addiction problem, so Krishna says, overcome lower taste by higher taste. So if you have tasted Karela and you have a bad taste in your mouth, or you bit a chili, after that, if you put a gulab jamun, the gulab jamun sweetness will overpower the bitter taste of Karela or the hot taste of chili. So higher taste overpowers lower taste. So Krishna consciousness, so it doesn't happen overnight. We all have our sense gratification tendencies. We all have our addictions and whatnot. But slowly, as we bring in Krishna, Bhagavad Gita, spirituality in our life, slowly we develop a taste. This is a whole different level of happiness. I like this, right? And slowly the mind understands that there is actually happiness in this versus something else. And the transition happens. It can take years to happen. It can take months to happen, depending on who we are, what is our conditioning, what is our past karma, etc. But there's a transition. And slowly, be in the process. Today you started the process. Be in the process. So every Friday, 7:30 p.m. on Zoom, we study the Bhagavad Gita together. You are welcome to join. And slowly together, we are all cleansing ourselves, learning the Bhagavad Gita, verse by verse. And slowly you'll see your habits will change. Your where you find happiness will change. And you will uplift yourself from tamagun to rajagun to sattvagun, right? But you have to be in the process. Jamal Ashraf. Nice to see you, Jamal. Thanks for joining. How to take right decision when it is really tough between choosing this and choosing that. I'm getting there. So some of the things we already mentioned, right? Prioritization of urgent versus important, long term versus short term, right? Breaking the heart or correcting. So we'll get into more details on that. So maybe I'll leave some of these questions for a little at the end. A lot of questions are there. I'll go back to our slides. Ragini Mataji, please ask your question in the Q&A box. That way I can answer all of them all at once. All right, so prioritize urgent versus important. We learned that. Long-term versus short-term. Ethical versus unethical, right? So in many cases, we are like, nobody's watching, finders, keepers. But somebody is watching, and that somebody is sitting inside our heart, Paramatma. There's Atma and Paramatma, side by side. We, as well as Krishna, as Paramatma, side by side, sitting in our heart. So it is always right thing to be dharmic. Dharma rakshata iti rakshate. You protect dharma, dharma will protect you, right? You protect dharmic principles. Now, dharma, I don't mean take a saffron flag and go beat up other people or mob lynching. That is somehow thought to be dharma in today's day and age. That's not what I mean by upholding dharma. Upholding dharma doesn't mean hitting someone or hurting someone. Upholding dharma means doing things that are right, regardless of who's watching or who's not. You do things that are given in our scriptures because it's pleasing to Krishna, right? It's out of love for our dear Father, Krishna, that we do the right thing. We say the truth. We pay our taxes. We don't cheat people. We don't hurt people. We don't exploit others. We don't hurt animals. We don't hurt other living entities emotionally, physically, or any other way, right? Ethical versus unethical. Ethical treatment of humans, animals, whoever else, right? And the last thing is winning an argument versus breaking hearts. This is something a lot of people who are married face this, unmarried also, I'm sure. But sometimes we get so overcome by winning an argument, we forget what we're hammering someone. Is it really worth winning? Versus, it's okay to just move on, right? It's okay to not be correct. It's okay to not rub it on the face. I told you so. Look at you, ha ha ha, right? So some decisions we have to sometimes make, like, you know what? It's okay to lose once in a while, and we'll go talk more about win-win, win-lose, and lose-win situations. But the point is, we have to think about these things when we're making a choice, when we're prioritizing our decision making. Time, place, and circumstance. That's the next thing. It has a very important role in making decisions, right? You will see that a lot of decisions you make in the morning are influenced by sattvic, their goodness. Decisions made at night when you're sleepy, when you're tired, somebody, you yell at people, you're like, I don't want to hear this, I'm done, right? Whereas this morning when you're clean head, you make certain decisions. So their time plays a very important role in our lives. Place has a very important role in our life. In office, many people after working from home realize that working at office is a little better, or in an office environment, even if it is at home, if you have the space for having an office environment, it makes you more productive. So place has a role to play. In temple, why do you wear clean clothes to a temple? Why do you, if something comes from the altar, a flower that comes from the garden versus it comes from the altar, right? The garden flower, we just smell and throw it away. Flower that comes from the altar, we say, oh, very nice. It's coming from Krishna. It's coming from the deities. Very nice. We put it on our head, right? We take it as mercy of God, etc. So place and circumstance, in what situation, what you do. So for example, right? Let's talk about lying. In certain cases, one might be forced to lie. Now, I just mentioned protect dharma. But then there are situations where we're like, okay, if I say the truth, somebody else might get in trouble. So should I tell the truth? For example, somebody's life is in danger, right? And you're asked a question that might put somebody's life in danger. Will you tell the truth? It might be best to avoid it because it might put your life or somebody else's life in danger. You don't put, so in Yudhishthira Maharaj's case, they were trying to win a dharma yuddha where the Kauravas had done the wrong things to Draupadi. They had tried to strip a woman naked in a public place. It's horrible, right? The Vedic principle is shaken when a woman's right is hurt. A woman is indignified. It is one of the worst things one can do. One of the worst breaking of principles. So the Kauravas did that, and they needed to pay. That's their punishment. And Yudhishthira Maharaj was told by Krishna himself that Yudhishthira, if we say something, that Ashwadhama is dead, this Dronacharya won't believe us. But if you say it, he'll believe it. And Yudhishthira Maharaj said, sorry, I'm Dharmaraj Yudhishthira, I will not lie. And then Krishna made an arrangement such that, okay, he said, okay, there's an elephant that named Ashwadhama that died. You just say Ashwadhama Hata Iti Gaja, right? The elephant named Ashwadhama is dead. And accordingly, when you say Hata Iti Gaja, I will blow the conch so that Dronacharya cannot hear that. And he hears his son is dead. So when he said Ashwadhama Hata, Krishna blew the conch. And Dronacharya is like, oh my God, my son is dead. Ashwadhama is dead. And at that time, a king came and killed Dronacharya. Otherwise, Dronacharya was such a powerful warrior. He cannot be killed. He's actually the teacher of the Pandavas. He taught them how to fight. So those tactics were required in the battlefield. Certain tactics are required in business to win. Right? So what do? You work on what is the higher truth. It's not always black and white. It's the higher truth. So now we're getting into muddy waters. Now what happens now? Rationalization kicks in. So we know, okay, this is the higher truth. In this situation, this is the right thing to do. And sometimes internally, that's not. You're rationalizing. Don't, right? You have to be ethical. Somebody is watching. Somebody who you love and who loves you is watching what decision you're making. So be truthful to yourself and ask yourself, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the right thing according to scriptures? And then consult with Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. Consult with a mentor. See what kind of personalities from our great scriptures, Mahabharata, Ramayana, Bhagavatam. Look at their lives and see what they might have done. What would Lord Ramachandra do in this situation, right? What would Arjuna do in this situation? What would Prithu Maharaj do in this situation? So like that, when you know their lives, you can look at them and decide rather than looking at some movie star or cricket star, right? And make choices. And most importantly is calling a devotee who's guiding you, who's mentoring you in your life, and getting that guidance. Am I doing the right thing or am I rational? I do that. I call my mentor all the time. Or not all the time, but if I think I'm negotiating too hard, right? I'm like, am I going too hard on this person or should I back off? And he's like, you're going too hard. It's not fair what you're giving him. Like, okay, I'll back off, right? So I do the right thing. Now, even after all that, I make mistakes. And if you go out there, I'm sure there's some people who will tell you, Avelo Roy is too hard in negotiating and whatnot. Can't help it, right? You cannot be 100%. You're not Krishna. And I don't expect to be perfect. And that's okay. That's all right. But what is my perfection? That I am trying to do my best to do the right thing according to dharmic principles, right? Okay. So time, place, and circumstance plays a very, very important role. So for example, Krishna is God. But when he's with his friends, he's massaging their feet. He's massaging Balaram's feet. This is God personally, and where there is enmity, in this case, Kamsa's wrestlers wanting to kill Krishna, Krishna kills them, these two gentlemen. And then after that, he goes and kills Kamsa. So same Krishna, here he's massaging the feet of his devotees. There he's killing them. Here Krishna is breaking his promise. He said he would not fight in the battle of Kurukshetra. Guess what? Bhishma Dev, he made a vow that he would kill Arjun. And that day, Bhishma Dev went all out. He was being kind because Arjun is his favorite student. He's a loving grandfather, of course. He doesn't want to hurt the Pandavas. So he was teased by Duryodhan. Like, oh, you're being too kind. If it was others, you would have killed them. You're the great Bhishma. So Bhishma said, okay, tomorrow I'm going to kill. But what happened was something else infuriated Bhishma. I'll just, do I have time for it? I don't have too much time. Okay, I'll get straight to the point. So I'll not get in the details of the story, but the point is Bhishma was angry and he wanted to kill Arjuna. And what happened? Arjun was going all out, but he couldn't keep up with Bhishma Dev. So eventually Bhishma broke the chariot, and then Krishna took up and he took the arrows for Arjun. To protect Arjun, Krishna took arrows from Bhishma Dev. And then finally Krishna took one of the chariot wheels and hurled towards Bhishma Dev to kill him. And look at here, Bhishma is surrendering. He dropped his weapons and is like, this is the perfection of my life. If I can die in your hands and I made you break your promise, this is the best thing. Krishna, I'm ready to die. But look at Arjun. He's gone. He's holding on to Krishna. No, Krishna, history will not, forgive you. History will say you broke your promise. You cannot kill Bhishma Dev. Please, Krishna, for history's sake, don't do it. Right? So time, place, and circumstance. Krishna is God, but he is also showcasing that to him, what matters more, his Bhakta Vatsala, his nature as Bhakta Vatsala, or his devotees are priority, more important than keeping his own promise. And so that takes a higher priority. So Krishna is proving something here that, you know what, I don't care what history will call me. And most people say, oh, Krishna was a characterless person, like, oh, too many girlfriends, broke promise, and all of that. So externally, to the people who don't know about the scriptures, that's how they see it. But what they fail to see is Krishna's love for his devotees, right? So everywhere, if you see Krishna's pastimes, he's always upholding the Bhakta Vatsal nature, love for devotees over himself. Whereas Lord Ramachandra was always, what's the right thing to do? This is dharmic, so I'll do it, even if it means sending my wife to the forest, even if it means, self-sacrifice, going to the forest, etc., living like a mendicant. Lord Ramachandra always, Ekapatni Vrata, he's always like, puts dharma above everything. Whereas Krishna's case, same personality, Lord Ram is Lord Krishna, right? And he's showcasing devotees over everything else. So anyway, we're not getting in the details of Krishna Leela or Ram Leela, but what I'm trying to showcase here is God has various aspects. And what makes us love God is by understanding his nature, right? When there is an understanding, why do we love our significant other? Because there's appreciation for the nature of the other person. Of course, good looks and money and qualities and all of those things are maybe some superficial reasons why somebody might fall in love. But eventually a relationship sustains based on qualities. So same thing, when we want to love God, it sustains based on the quality that we have, that we understand. So in Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Mahabharata, Ramayana, all these scriptures, you get to see that nature of God. And that's what's very, very attractive. And that's what makes us love God. And when we love God, we cannot hurt God's creation. We cannot hurt a tree. We cannot hurt the environment. We cannot hurt the birds, the fish, the cows, the goats, the chickens. We cannot hurt other living entities. We love all living entities, regardless of caste, creed, religion, skin color, geographical location, because we love God, right? That's what it, unity in diversity. It unifies us when we understand we have the same Father, right? I've grown up in a Christian missionary school. So I've read the Bible end to end. I have taken Islamic thoughts in my college days, and I was a topper in Islamic thoughts. And so I have studied these scriptures not from a vantage point of finding the dissimilarities, but a vantage point of how do they love God, and how does the Gita speak about loving God, and how they're similar. And it makes me appreciate from a different vantage point. So I'm able to appreciate other religions, other cultures, rather than my daddy is better than your daddy, right? That's the mentality of a kid, of a 5-year-old. 5-year-old is like, my daddy, you know how strong he is, he can beat your daddy up. But as adults, we don't say that. As adults, we know to everyone, their parents are the best. But at the same time, we have appreciation for each person's parents as well, right? So similarly, when we understand the nature of God, nature of our scriptures, we can appreciate others rather than finding our differences. Okay. All right. Going forward with now, Sattvic, Rajasic, Tamasic. Many of you might be hearing these words for the first time. So decision making a very important part of decision making is a compelling vision. Uh, every day we're making decisions, right? But if we don't have a long-term compelling vision, then what happens is our decision making becomes very random. I want to do it, so I'll do it. Let's give an example. I have to study for IAS exams. So the date's coming up, and I will have to sit for the exam, and I have to become an IAS officer. Let's say that's the situation. That means it's a tough exam. I have to study a lot. I have to every day I have to have a regiment. So every day I have to work towards that goal. It's a long-term goal. For some people, it takes a year, 2 years, 3 years to crack the exam, right? So it's a long-term goal, and you make short-term sacrifices because once you become an IAS, you have responsibility of a location, and it's a wonderful way to serve your country, right? So looking at that long-term vision, you make decisions on a daily basis. Should I watch this movie? Should I not? Should I be friends with the person? Should I not? Should I waste time? Should I not? Should I spend money here? Should I not? Right? Should I go for that vacation? Should I not? Every decision is based on that long-term vision in mind. So as a devotee of Krishna, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that at the time of death, whatever you think of, that is where you go next. So that means whatever desires and whatever thoughts you have, accordingly you get the next body, reincarnation. So ideally speaking, as devotees, we should think of God. We should get in the habit of thinking about Krishna in every aspect of our life, so that at the time of death, whenever that comes, 5 minutes from now or 20 years or 30 years or 50 years from now, we should be able to think of Krishna so that we can go back to Krishna, right? The kingdom of God, Vaikuntha or Goloka as we call it. So the idea is to always be in Krishna consciousness. So that's the goal of a practicing Krishna conscious devotee. So when that's the goal, is eating this or drinking this or watching this or listening to this or this kind of company good for me? Am I getting influenced? Am I influencing? Right? And all our decisions will be based on that long-term goal. Will this help me remember Krishna at the time of death, or will it not? And based on that, we decide in life, right? So I tried to be a monk. For 3 months, I was living in a temple. And my goal was, if I become a monk, I can be more prone, I can have a focused. But then I realized, what? It's not for me. I cannot sleep on the floor. I cannot live without having a bank account, without having a car, without living the life of a mendicant. I couldn't do it. And very quickly, I switched back to being an entrepreneur again, right, from being a monk. But those 3 months were amazing in teaching me some very, very important disciplines that I'm not able to follow to the best of my ability today, but at least I know that's the standard, right? And that helps me even today. The point is, not everybody has a different vehicle for a certain goal. Having that goal is important in your decision making. If you don't have a goal, if you don't know where you're going, then your decision will be random. So you see somebody's doing it, you'll do it. Somebody's doing this, you'll do that. But you're not moving forward, you're hovering around, right? So it's important that you have a goal, you set a goal, you have a deadline, and based on that, all your decisions will be based on the deadline. So if you want to make $1 million, right, you will have to have certain investment plans. That I should invest in real estate, in stock market, in myself, my personal brand, perhaps. Maybe I should have different sources of revenue. Maybe I should start a business. All different ways that can add up to $1 million by such and such date. So any decision, whether spiritual or material, has to have a very crystal clear goal. If you decide you want to go to Delhi, you need to know, you have to go to Make My Trip or Clear Trip or whatever, one of those websites, get a flight, get a ticket and go. You don't go to the airport saying, I'll just go somewhere, right? You don't say that. You know where you're going. So similarly, when I talk to people, a lot of times I see people are like, I want to be happy and rich and be successful. Okay, what does success look like? You can define it for me. Success, a nice car, a nice house. What is a nice car? Is a Nano a nice car? Is a BMW a nice car? Is a Maserati a nice car? Is Ferrari a nice car? What is nice car? Nice is not specific. Be specific. When do you want it? When you want to win at 25, 45, 55, 65, right? What kind of a person do you want to marry? So very crystal clear goals you need to have. And you set that goal, you write it down, and that goal is your anchor. Based on that goal, you're able to make decisions on a minute by minute, on a day by day, on a month by month basis. If you don't have that goal, your decisions are going to be random, and you're going to constantly be happy, sad. You don't know where you're going. You're clueless. You're chaotic. And you're like, what's happening with my life? Right? And eventually, you'll go through midlife crisis. That is what midlife crisis is. You're like, I've done all this. My spouse shouts at me. My kids don't like me. Oh my God, what have I done? I have a job. I get paid, but I don't feel happy in this job, and I don't know where my life is going. And sometimes in midlife crisis, people do stupid things or people do productive things. But the point is, you can avoid that crisis when you have clarity where you're going, right? So very important that you set a goal, and your decisions can be derived from that goal, right? Every decision can be derived. Is it aligning to that goal, or is it taking me away from that goal? I hope that is clear. Okay, so sattvic, that means mode of goodness. Um, it means you made short-term struggles for long-term gains. Rajasic, short-term gains for long-term, without long-term consideration. So it's like, let me do it now. I'll figure it out later on, right? So it's a little stupid. Tamasic is really stupid, where there is no short-term, long-term gain. It's only loss for yourself and loss for others. So just like taking drugs, you're hurting yourself, you're hurting your family members, you're going to eventually end up on the streets, right? Whatever you have is going to go down the drain because you have an addiction, right? And for different people, it's different things. Some people are addicted to drugs, some people are addicted to name, fame, some people are addicted to other things. But the point is, anything tamasic, it's no gain either in the short term or long term. And we get influenced by these different modes, right? Sattvic, rajasic, tamasic, that's what we are made up of in the philosophical sense. So for example, everything has a combination, just like colors have red, blue, green. The primary colors combine in different proportions, and you get various millions and millions of colors. Similarly, these three modes of nature combine in various proportions, and you have various characteristics. You have various species of life. You have various kinds of things. So mango, for example, is considered a fruit that is sattvic, right? It is sweet, it's succulent, it's good for you. Or something like a cactus is considered not so sattvic. It is thorns. It's not the best thing. Or mushroom, it grows in a certain situation. It's a fungus, right? It has certain quality. It might be good for you in terms of food value, but it has certain qualities also, that why it is a fungus, right? It grows in certain situations. It has certain energy involved with it, right? Onion and garlic, for example, or caffeine. These are rajasic. They give you that jolt of energy, but eventually it kind of hurts you, your body, your health, your mind. I don't take caffeine, and I can tell you, I don't have any problem staying up, keeping myself up when I have to work really, really hard. It's not a problem for me. So giving your remote control in something else, letting something else influence you, is what is the material life. But today we are learning about control, mind control, sense control, means the steering wheel of the car of your body, right? Your life, taking back control in your hands by strengthening the intelligence. Now I'm going to ask a question, and I hope you guys are listening intently. How do you strengthen your intelligence? What fuels your intelligence? In the chat section, please. Thank you. Knowledge, meditation, knowledge, reading, knowledge. Yes, knowledge. So meditation is a tool to make the mind open for it, but knowledge is what fuels your intelligence. The right knowledge, the right experience fuels your intelligence, with which you can control the mind, which can control the senses, and you have control over your life. Very good. Okay. All right. Right choice versus popular choice, right? When making a decision, a lot of times we go for the popular choice. Now, of course, if you're at Amazon and most things are 5-star ratings, uh, if you go with the popular choice, here's what will happen. A lot of companies do paid reviews, right? Pay people to write nice reviews, and you might end up with the wrong product. Like, what happened? I got all these 5-star reviews, but then, turns out the product is not as good as everybody was saying. Versus the right choice, where you make a conscious decision, you look at that it's a verified purchase, right? People who've verified purchase, those people are writing these reviews, okay. Or third person, an expert or a YouTuber or an influencer is saying it. So of course they're also paid, but in most cases influencers wouldn't lie, because then if they're proven to be liars, their followers will leave them, right? So there are ways of finding out the right choice versus the popular choice. So generally what happens, even in leadership, the people want to be the popular leader versus the right leader. Decision making, popular decision versus right decision. So sometimes you have to make the tough decisions, and that might make you unpopular, but it's okay, because you're doing the right thing. You're upholding dharma, which means dharma will protect you as well. You do the right thing, even if it is unpopular. Initially people will spit at you, eventually they'll respect you for your choices. But if you do the popular thing, initially you'll get the name fame game. Eventually they'll be like, this guy is just all about brand, this guy is all about talk, cannot actually show results. Lippy is saying, hearing and doing good stuff. It just adds, makes me resourceful and fuels the intelligence system within me. But how do you define what is good? What is good for you might be not so good for somebody else, right? So we have to have a very proper definition of good. We have to have proper definition of what is beneficial. That's why the goodness, passion, ignorance, right? Because sometimes uh, it is a Christian saying that says the path to hell is carved by good intentions. You have the right intentions, want to do the right thing, but somehow or other it leads to the wrong place, because good intentions are not good enough. You need to know from guru, sadhu, shastra, what is the right thing to do, right? What is so for example, I can feed somebody's hungry, I can feed them, right? But am I feeding them the right food? Is the person diabetic? Am I feeding them sweets? Is it the right thing to do, right? Versus asking and figuring out what is the right thing to feed you, what is the most nutritious thing to feed you. So good intention is not good enough. You have to make sure you do the right thing with the proper knowledge, with proper clarity of view. Okay, so right thing versus popular choice. And then comes choosing between win-win situation, win-lose situation, and lose-win situation. So win-win situation is when you take a step back, somebody takes a step back, and you come to a middle ground where you're like, you know what, everybody should win. Let's make a decision where I'm not the only winner, but everybody wins. You know what happens? Then people trust you. People want to work with you, that this is a person who cares, and this person we don't lose out on. One of my mentors, who later on joined my company, he was CTO of Motorola. And as Motorola, when Reliance Telecom, owned by Anil Ambani at the time, it still is, was building the infrastructure for those Reliance phones, in the blue phones that they came up with. Motorola built the entire infrastructure at a very, very cheap price, with the promise, Anil Ambani had made the promise that, when it comes to the phones, we will prioritize Motorola over LG and other companies. And when Marshall was about to make the decision, the Motorola team met with the Reliance team, Reliance Telecom. And everything was built, 3 years of hard work from Motorola. And Anil Ambani said, you know what? We have to just do business. And in business, we have to make sure that we give fair chance to everyone. Whoever has the lowest price gets to, bid, and we will choose their phone. Motorola will not get a priority. Immediately, Marshall and the entire team of Motorola left that room. And Motorola went back, and they're like, you know what? Reliance didn't keep their word. And look what happened on Anil Ambani, right? practically facing bankruptcy when his brother is the richest person in the world, in India. So the thing is, when you are, again, I have nothing against Anil Ambani, I'm just giving an example. Then when you make decisions where it's, I am the only one who should win and everybody should lose, then people don't like working with you, no matter how powerful you are, no matter how rich you are. Eventually you lose. When it's a win-win mentality, then what happens is people like to work with you, they continue to work with you. Look at Ratan Tata, look at Azim Premji. They give so much in charity, they do so many good things, they have such great, a whole lifetime of reputation. They were not just like whoop, went up, whoop, went down. No, lifetime of reputation. People respect them because they have always worked with win-win situations. Nobody likes to touch companies like Reliance Telecom, because everybody knows dealing with certain people is like it's a win-lose situation, and rather not deal with them. And then there is another situation which is called lose-win, where you lose and make the other person win. Now, in some cases, that can be detrimental, where you're like getting exploited. In other cases, it might be an act of compassion. You might be, it might be a game of chess, and you let your child win, or you let your parents win, or let your spouse win, or whatever. It might be something else where you lose for a short period, but you gain something much more valuable, right? What was that movie? Bazigar. हार के जीतने वालों को बाजीगर कहते हैं, right? There's that movie quote, very famous quote that it says. That's a truthful statement in many cases, where you lose and you win something much more. So in those situations, you have to look at the emotional aspect of things. That is it worth breaking the person's heart just to be winning? Rather, I see them smile, and that's my winning, more than winning the tug of war, right? So these are some of the considerations we take when we are making decisions, and which one should be very, very understanding of the fact that we are all Atma. We are soul, spiritual beings, part of God, spark of God, right? So the most fundamental need of every living entity is to love and be loved. And this is the simplest definition of dharma. Dharma does not mean religion. Dharma means this. There's the intrinsic nature of the soul. What is the soul's nature? Soul's dharma is to love and be loved. Simple and clear. That's why we are so pulled by love. Every Bollywood movie, every song that touches a heart, it's about love. It's about loving, not only getting love, but also giving love, both ways, right? So it's important to understand that when we give love, we feel happy. This is the secret to happiness. In fact, there was a Harvard research that was done for 80 years, from children being born to people who are becoming old as well as dying. And they came to the same conclusion, that the secret to the happiness study, if you can Google it and see it, the happiness study is the more friends you have, the more loving relationships you have with other conscious beings, the happier the person you are, right? Not like Facebook friends, but real friends, right? Real loving, nourishing relationship with family, with friends. That's the true unique way of being happy. Those who have that are happier than those who don't have that. And one might say, oh, well, whose fault is it if somebody doesn't have it? Well, we start with our own mind. We start with ourselves. Am I lovable? Am I likable? Or am I always fault finding? Am I always looking for other people's mistakes, right? What I am looking for, am I that, right? If I'm looking for somebody to be a good listener, am I a good listener? Do I let other people speak, right? So what you get is a reflection of yourself in 90% of the cases. So it's important that you start by changing yourself, transforming yourself. When you change yourself, the world around you transforms. And this is the last slide today. So this is the last verse of Bhagavad Gita, where Sanjaya says, wherever there is Krishna, the master of all mystics, Yogeshwara Krishna. Wherever there is Arjuna, the supreme archer, Dhanurdhara, right? Supreme archer. There will also certainly be opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and morality. Opulence means abundance of riches, and well, you'll not have any problems with maintaining your life. Victory, you will win. Maybe not in the short term, but in the long term, you will win. Extraordinary power and ethics, morality. Where is Krishna and Arjun? Wherever there is the teachings of Bhagavad Gita that is followed. Wherever there is Krishna, the master of all mystics, wherever there is Arjuna, the supreme archer, there will also certainly be opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and morality. So let this be our inspiration in studying the Gita. You can always contact me for one-on-one consultation. Also, like I said, every Friday, there is Philosophy Friday at 7:30 p.m. You're welcome to come and study together the Bhagavad Gita. Again, you can WhatsApp the same number and let Sarvano know, and he will add you to the WhatsApp group, and we can study the Bhagavad Gita verse by verse, chapter by chapter. Today is just the beginning. I'm sure there's a lot of questions I'll be able to answer for you. Some I won't be able to answer today, but it's ongoing process. Today we build our friendship, and I hope we can have a lifetime of friendship together. Also, there are more than 200 videos on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Avelo Roy. They're on spirituality, business, life in general. Go watch them. I'm sure you'll get value. I'm just repeating the scriptures. These are not my opinions. These are what are given in our scriptures. And you can connect with me on Instagram. If you have any questions, LinkedIn and Instagram are best ways to get in touch with me. And I generally respond in 48 hours or less. If I don't respond, follow up in case I miss your messages. All right, so I'm done with my presentation. Now I'm going to go into the Q&A box. Let's see. How to practice not to repeat same mistakes. That requires mind control, right? To recognize when you make a mistake, make a strong impression on the mind. Reflect on it. Why did this mistake happen? Where could I have stopped it? Find certain things that are red flags. Next time when you see the red flag, oh, I'm about to make this mistake again. Okay, last time I told myself not to repeat this. Okay, let me be extra cautious not to repeat this mistake. And you know what? Chances are you will again make the mistake, but less. And slowly, you repeat, but you make less mistakes, and eventually it perfects it out. Anonymous attendee, you know you are wrong, but you are forced to do the same thing for the sake of doing it. You're not forced. It's your mind that's forcing you. So take control over your mind. And like I said, make meditation a daily practice. Take control over your mind. And trust me, you will be able to do what you want to do, what is the right thing to do. It doesn't happen overnight. Every day, little by little, you can chip off that just like going to the gym, right? Building a muscle. One day you'll not have biceps, triceps, and abs. But as you go through 6 months, 10 months, you will see your body transform. Similarly with meditation. So many times, Deepak Yadav is saying, so many times resources, data sources are limited and fact finding does not take place. And it becomes difficult to take a decision, especially when impact of a decision is going to be high. How to handle such a situation? Deepak, give me a call. I'll be happy to help you out. But the point is, when you are in a normal time, build a network, have mentors, have experts in your life. So when you're facing that kind of a situation, you can call them up and get help. So you don't have to go through all the data and resources and everything because you don't have the time. But you have time for a 5-minute phone call them up and get guidance. So that way you can quickly get to the results. Pranjal Sarkar, how will I know that I'm winning an argument and at the same time not breaking hearts? Be conscious. Look at the other person's body language. If that person means a lot to you, pause for a second, ask, is everything okay, right? You have to be human, right? You have to learn to observe people, learn to see, read between the words, right? And see if the person is being too defensive. Maybe you're hitting a soft corner somewhere, right? So again, being conscious first and then being Krishna conscious. So the point is, as you go through the process of meditation, you get these extra human powers to observe people, to see things that others don't generally see, right? you get this clarity of seeing the person maybe is feeling a little defensive, feeling hurt, or feeling a little insecure. Maybe I should back off, right? And this does, again, it doesn't, if you don't have that ability, try to build that ability day by day. Charu Arora. If I'm not taking control of and I surrender to Krishna, isn't he taking control and is better? Surrendering to Krishna doesn't mean you don't act. Arjun surrendered to Krishna and he fought the war. That means Arjun had to take the bow and arrow and shoot, right? He didn't say, Krishna, I'm going to sleep in the chariot and you're going to shoot the arrows. No, you have to shoot the arrows. You have to take the action. So it's important that you surrender to Krishna. That means you take the guidance, but you have to do your job, your duty, your activity. Sumit Patra, can a decision can change our karma? Your karma can be, yes, your every decision you make is building your future karma, but your past karma can only be changed when you come to bhakti, when you come to spirituality. Spirituality burns up your past karma, but your future karma is defined by the choices you make right now. If you choose to go to the gym, you're going to have an attractive body, right? That means you'll attract other people towards you when you're good looking and whatnot. So point is, yes, that's the karma you're building by making choices. Madhukar Bhatt, what is the difference between intelligence, instinct, intellect, and intuition? I am not a expert on linguistics. So I don't know what's the point of asking that question, but I already explained instinct versus intelligence. So intelligence over a period of time will give you a subconscious expertise with which you can, like, for example, somebody can hear a car engine and say what car that is, or what's the problem with the car. That's not like tarot card reading or something. That's just expertise, that after hearing so many car engines and having that expertise over time, you have an instinct. By hearing the car sound, you can say, okay, there is a problem with the silencer pipe, or there's a problem with the something, right? So instinct is that. Intellect and intelligence, same thing. Intuition, instinct, similar. Again, I'm not expert on linguistics. Venkat Kiran is saying, when we are having or keeping multiple options open but want to take risk and grow, how to take decision in that situation means we know that we will grow by business, but we are sticker with jobs, etc. How to overcome that? You cannot overcome that because your mind is stopping you. You have to have somebody else help you through it, and that's generally a mentor or a best friend or a spouse who can inspire you. And that's what I do with a lot of people. Inspire you to show you this is how you transition out of your job and you get into a business and build your dream that you really, really want, right? These are the outcomes. You have to also tell yourself, this is the compelling vision. If I do this, if I take this risk, the worst is this and the best is this, and I'll end up somewhere in the middle. So is it worth quitting? Maybe. Is it worth not quitting? Maybe. Based on that, make a choice, make a decision, talk to an expert, and choose what is best for you, or what time is best for you. Time, place, and circumstance. Don't forget that in decision making. Shaumik Pal, Shiva is called the ultimate. Why? That's a very random question. In Shiv Puran, Shiva will be called ultimate. In Vishnu Puran, Vishnu would be called ultimate. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying Krishna is ultimate. So it depends. There is truth. There's absolute truth. So you have to understand. In your family, you're the ultimate, right? You might be the head of the family. So like that, there are different levels of truth. In fact, Lord Shiva in Shiv Puran says, Aradhananam Sarvesham Vishnu Aradhana Param, that the highest worship of form of worship is the worship of Vishnu. Lord Shiva is saying to Durga Devi. Hari Swami Das, your presentation is very helpful. How can I get rid of any bad habit? Maybe I know what to do, but my instinct restricts me. So how is it possible for me? Like I said, let's set up a one-on-one time and go through that together. It's not something that's the easiest thing to do, but there is a process to de-link what the mind thinks gives it happiness and link it to something new that is healthier than addiction. And have done it for people, and I'm happy to do it for you. Let's connect separately. Where does Krishna play the role? So Krishna doesn't play a role unless you invite him to play a role. You're in the karma system. You do something, you get something. Do good, get good. Do bad, good. So good, bad, ugly, whatever that is. Krishna comes in the picture when you invite him. My dear Krishna, I don't know what is best for me. Like Arjun says in chapter 2 Bhagavad Gita, he says, Krishna, I don't know what's good for me. Please help me. Tell me what's the right thing to do. When you invite him, then he intervenes. And then there is mercy. Then he tells Durga Devi to, let me take care of him. And he helps you through your situation. Your prayers are answered, and things work in a different way. That's a whole different law of nature working versus the law of nature that's working in the automated karmic situation. Shivam Ghosh. Sir, sometimes due to stress, I'm very restless and take the wrong decision. So at that moment, how can I control myself? So when you're stressed, don't make a decision. Cool off, then make a decision, right? Give yourself some time to cool off. Listen to some good music, do some exercise, maybe watch a YouTube video that's funny or whatever helps you kind of calm down, chill out, come to optimal performance, breathe in, breathe out, right? Then make a decision. Don't make decision when you're stressed out. That's the worst thing you can do. Venkat is, wow, Venkat, a lot of questions from you. When we don't have mentor, whom should we approach? You said open Bhagavad Gita and read in situation. I tried the same, but perception and interpretation is different. And as you said, we can't interpret when our mind is confused. So how can we get help from Gita when we are confused and we have no mentor? Like I said, message me, give me a call, I'm here for you. That's a simple answer. Or whoever, find a mentor. It's very important. In human life, it is important to find somebody who can guide you. Just like in today's world, we all have GPS, right? So it can guide us to know where to go, what to do. So similarly, in our life, to have control, just like without a steering wheel, you cannot drive your car. You need to have a steering wheel. You also need a GPS in your car. Similarly, you need to have control over your mind, but also you need a mentor who can guide you and tell you if you're rationalizing, if you're interpreting, or if you're coming to the right conclusions. Raja Tikram, sir, how far is it right to ask for luxurious life? Nothing wrong with it. All the great kings were devotees and they had a very, very luxurious life. Even I live a fairly luxurious life. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Just because you're a spiritual person, it's a misconception that you have to live in poverty. That's not true. All the great spiritual leaders from our scriptures, like I said, they're all ended with Maharaj, right? Yudhishthir Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Prithu Maharaj. All these people are great, great devotees of the Lord. Ambarish Maharaj, they were kings of the whole planet, not just India, right? So nothing wrong with having high aspirations, luxurious life. Problem is when the luxury guides you, when the fame name game takes control over you. When luxury controls you, that's the problem. But when you like to have a comfortable life, sure, go right ahead, right? But have the consciousness that who this is for, what is this all for, what is the purpose of my life. Don't forget the purpose of life just because you have a private jet or you have a nice car or a nice house or a nice spouse, right? Keep the focus on. Don't get distracted from your life's goal. Shiva Senthil is saying, is it better to suggest the choices and consequences to a friend in need, or tell the friend what choices to make as she is unsure which one to choose? Give them the opportunity to make the choice, but you can give them the choice and the consequence that if you do this, this is the outcome. If you do that, that is the outcome. Help them make the choice, but don't make the choice for them, or else they will blame you if things don't go in their favor. So never ever make a choice for somebody else. Unless you're a doctor, that you're choosing the medicine that you should be giving. But the point is, when you're guiding a friend or somebody, mentoring someone, never make a choice for them. Help them come to their own conclusion. Money, PS. I don't have questions since many people have asked what I wanted to ask, but I have a view about a question asked by a person. Hope I can express my view. The question was about Gayatri Mantra is more powerful. Yes, it is, but it requires to be learned from a guru, which means a upadesha is needed. But Krishna Mantra can be chanted by anyone, anytime. No need for any upadesha. It is my understanding. Yes, that's right. Gayatri Mantra cannot be chanted by anyone. Although you see every shop is playing the Gayatri Mantra, that's not proper. That's not the Vedic system. It is coming from a guru. Whereas Krishna Mantra can be chanted by anyone. But still, I stand by it. According to scriptures, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra includes the Gayatri Mantra. Venkata again, how to implement the knowledge guy we through reading books. We learn a lot, but we can't implement or practice. So how can we do that? All your questions are very good, Venkata. That's why I'm responding to each one of them. So yes, when you have a lot of knowledge, you have to look at opportunities to apply them. So when you hear something, like today you heard a few things, you won't remember most of the things. But when you get the recording, watch them over and over again. Something will stick with you. Some things, those things that stick with you, apply them. See for opportunities to apply. For example, you heard today about finding a mentor. So find somebody who you trust, who you can call, somebody who you can get guidance from. When you go through a difficult situation, ask the other person, hey, am I hurting your feelings? Right? When you're having an argument, try not to break somebody's heart. So whatever that thing that today that stayed with you in decision making, try to apply it. When you apply it, you see, aha, this is how it works. When that aha moment comes, then gyan becomes vigyan. Knowledge becomes realized knowledge. And then you can apply it over and over and over again and it becomes a part of your life. You'll never forget it. That's how you apply your knowledge. Ragni Mataji is asking, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, we believe in reincarnation. We don't remember the past life, but I have seen some documents where people and children can remember their past life and saying perfectly their birthplace, parents. Yeah. How is it possible for only some people and not for all? Please explain, Prabhuji. Thank you, Hare Krishna. Okay. So some people have that karmic problem. So they have the karma where they are so attached to their past life. They died in they were murdered or died in some bad way that they remembered that past life. What happens is as a childhood form, they remember. As they grow up, they tend to forget the past life memories. And eventually they can live a very normal life. But imagine if you can remember your past life, it can be very hellish because you are a child, you're seeing your parents, but then you remember you have a husband or a wife in your past life, and those are your children, and you were whatever, right? So it's a duality again, right? You're living a dual life. So it's very difficult. So thank God most of us don't remember our past life, but some people who do, it's again a function of their karma, where the karma is such that they have been forced to remember that, but eventually that also goes away. Darshan Vyas, is Vishnu or Krishna is only Bhagavan, and then how is Lord Shiva placed? Lord Shiva is a very special category, which is called Shambhu. Now I have to go in detail, so I'll just repeat what Lord Brahma says because we are short on time. Lord Brahma describes that if Krishna is milk, Lord Shiva is like dahi, yogurt. So not too different, but slightly different, right? So more coming in Philosophy Friday. But today, don't expect me to get into the whole Shiva and Krishna debate. That can be a very, very long discussion. Amit Nandan books. I don't know what you mean by that. Venkata Kiran rightly said, but how to know what is our goal? Set your own goal. I tried to find my passion, but couldn't find one. So can you help me? Yes, set up a 15-minute session. I'll try my best to help you with that. Anonymous attendee, should I tell someone the truth? If not, telling the truth doesn't harm anyone and we can all live happily. Or should I tell the truth and break hearts? Don't do it. If it's breaking hearts, why do you have to tell the truth? If everybody is living happily, unless it is your service, unless you have to tell the truth because it's beneficial to the other person. So for example, somebody's husband or wife is cheating on them, and it's not your responsibility in one sense. You don't have to be the bad guy and bearer of bad news. But if that person is dear to you and close to you, you might have to open your mouth. So it really depends on the situation what you should do. But if it's not your business, don't worry about it. And don't break hearts. Most of the times, it's not a good idea to break hearts. Can things be always win-win? Not always. It cannot be always win-win, but try your best to make it win-win wherever possible. Rajit Adiga, do you suggest any book on Bhagavad Gita for further deep study? Sure, go to vedabase.io and you will be able to find the Bhagavad Gita as it is. I'll write in the chat section, vedabase.io. You can find Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Vishopadeshad, and many other Vedic books there, which are authentic, authorized, coming from the Brahma Madhava Gauriya Sampradaya. It's bona fide in the disciplic succession, coming from Krishna, Brahma, and like that. It's coming down. So you can trust this source and read the books there. And of course, you can join Philosophy Friday, where we all study together and I explain each verse there. We are in Bhagavad Gita right now. I hope that helps. Ranjit. Okay. Somanath Nayak. I cannot continue gym or meditation. I started for 2 to 3 days, again discontinued for some reason or excess. How to make it regular habit as like food? So it needs that goal. Remember, I told you that goal has to be compelling, that if I do the gymming and the meditation, this is how my life will transform. Write it down, how your life will transform. If you're a better looking person, if you're a better control over your mind, anger, lust, greed, envy, what will change in your life? Will it make your relationships better? Will it make you happier? Will it make you richer? Will it give you more opportunities? What would those be? When you understand and write down and specifically put a deadline to it, then you can track back, and that will compel you to go forward. Without a clear, compelling goal, you're just going here and there. So you go to the gym and you don't go to the gym, because what's the point anyway? How will it change anything for me? Right? So it's important that you do it with a purpose, with a goal, and then things happen. Somanath Naik. Okay, I got that. Darshan is asking, how is Lord Shiva placed in Krishna only Bhagavad? Okay, I already answered that many times. How is Lord... Okay. Anonymous attendee, I broke up with my ex and dated someone else, but I'm now back with my ex and she doesn't know I dated someone in between for 2 months. Should I tell her that I dated someone for 2 months while we were broken up, but this might break her heart, or should I let this go and live happily with her again? If she finds out, she might not appreciate that, and that will break her heart furthermore. So chances are she might find out. So even though temporarily it will break her heart, but do everything possible to make sure your intention is clear, and you make sure she understands your intention is to solidify the relationship and not to break her heart, that you don't want any more secrets, you don't want to lie to her. That's why telling her the truth, so that you two can move forward in a loving, trusting, honest relationship. So a little bit of heartbreak in this case might be worth it for a long term of happy relationship. Versus you hide this and tomorrow she finds out, then that would be really devastating to her, because you hid from her. Anonymous attendee, how to overcome negativity or criticism when we are doing something right in life, how to remain confident and mentally strong all the time, irrespective of how critical and situation is. Sometimes I'm finding it difficult to stay strong and how I want to be. So please help me out, sir. It's not possible to be a robot, right? You cannot always be strong. You cannot always be perfect. It's not possible. Even Arjun, after hearing the Bhagavad Gita from God himself, from Krishna himself, right after the while battle of Kurukshetra is happening, Abhimanyu dies, his own son dies. Arjun breaks down. He's in depression. He's like, I'm going to kill myself if I cannot kill my son's killer. And he's crying. So the point is, that can happen to Arjuna. Who are you and I? We are humans. We will go through dips in life. Point is not to stay there, not to go through that twirl, but stay, get up and keep going. Fall, get up, keep going. Fall, get up, keep going. Have somebody you trust, a mentor, a friend, or someone who can pick you up when you're finding it hard to get up, somebody who can drag you up and push you and keep you going. Right? That's the important part. Himanshu Deka, how to make proper decision in each and every situation. You cannot make proper decision in each and every situation, but you can make a better decision in each and every situation by following the things I shared, prioritizing those things, urgent versus important, long term versus short term, etc. Having a goal. Is this decision aligning with that goal or not? Ask before making a decision. Why am I doing what am I doing? Is this time well spent aligning with that goal? Will this help me go towards the goal, or is this taking me away from the goal? Based on that, decide. Sometimes you might do something that takes you away from the goal, and it's okay to take a step back. It's okay to give yourself a day off where you just do nothing, just waste time watching Netflix and good food, and that's okay. It's okay. Don't kill yourself. You don't have to be perfect all the time, right? We are only humans. So I'll end it here. Thank you very much, all of you. And again, if you are interested in Bhagavad Gita, studying the Bhagavad Gita every Friday, 7:30 p.m., you can contact WhatsApp this number or go to my website on my contact form. Let me know, and we'll add you to the Bhagavad Gita group, and we can study together and continue this journey forward of our spiritual journey. All right. Thank you very much, and have a good night, everyone. Have a happy Sunday. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.